Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa, and on this channel we like to talk about all things Disney. For today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can plan your dream Disney fairy tale wedding and where to get started. Okay, so I think the easiest way to kind of explain how to get in contact with Disney and where to start planning your dream Disney fairy tale wedding is to show you on the computer. So this is the Disney Fairytale Wedding homepage, and this is what when you type into Google Disney Fairytale Weddings, this is what will come up. And so in order to start planning your dream Disney wedding, you're gonna obviously hit the Start Planning button up here, and you'll see the About Us. You wanna go down to Contact Us. So if you really want to get in contact with Disney, this is the best way to do it in order to get information about what you want to do with your wedding and how to go about getting started with it. So on the contact page, you're just going to see some basic information that they need to know, such as your first and last name, as well as your partner's first and last name, who they should get in contact with, where do you live, what's your phone number, email address, kind of how can they help you. So Disney does have different packages. So they offer an engagement package. So you can do like a very cool proposal idea that they can help you with, as well as a wedding package, obviously, and the vow renewal. So you can do a 5-year, 10-year, whatever year vow renewal with Disney as well. The vow renewals are similar to the weddings, and you can use the similar locations, as well as they are the same price. They will also ask you to select the month and the year you would like to get married. Now, something with Disney that you should know is that they won't really contact you if your date is not within a 16-month time frame. They will let you know that they'll reach back out to you around that 16-month window, but they don't really look at things too far in advance besides that 16-month mark. So once you're about 16 months out from your date, they'll contact you back, and they'll talk to you about where you want to get married, kind of your vision, budget, all of that. And from there, that person will pencil you in for a date, and it will not be confirmed until your 1-year mark out from that date. So it's kind of confusing, and it's very by the book at Disney, but we can go into a little bit more detail in just a second about that. So that's the questionnaire part. Something else I wanted to show you on the website is you can see the different options in terms of where you can get married. So you can get married in Florida at Disney World, California at Disneyland, Hawaii at Aulani, and on the Disney cruise ships. So those are kind of the 4 different places you can get married. And they all have their different pricing structures, and how they price things are completely different from each other. So I will be focusing mostly on the Florida Walt Disney World side, because that's what we've been doing and that's what I know the most about. I know a few things about the cruise line as well as California, just based off of information I've gained from groups like the Dis Brides on Facebook, as well as Carrie Hayward's book, which I'll show you in just a second. If you are thinking about becoming a Disney bride, you need this book. It's very, very comprehensive in terms of locations. It has a budget manager in there. So if you want fireworks, if you want a string quartet, if you want characters, you can put that all into her budgeter in the back of the book, and it will let you know kind of how much it will be, including tax, which is awesome. So that's something I want to show you in just a second. So to go over the Florida options. So on the Florida weddings page, when you click on it, you have an overview of what they can kind of provide. Obviously, a lot of this, if you watch the Disney Fairytale Wedding show on ABC Family, and now Disney Plus, there's a lot of photos that you'll see from there. Like the Tree of Life ceremony that they did, as well as Oak Manor, as well as now you have page. You also have your cakes, your foods, your entertainment, your floral. And let me tell you, Disney is amazing when it comes to customization for your wedding. I will go into that in greater detail in a different video, but our buffet menu is honestly one of the best I've ever seen, especially considering that guests won't be eating until 1 a.m. So it's awesome. I was able to just tell the chefs at Disney exactly what I wanted, exactly the theme I was going for, and they just ran with it, and it was an awesome experience to kind of taste the food during our tasting session that happened last year. And again, I can go into that in a separate video, but it's definitely an amazing experience. So also something that's very nice on this page is the Q&A section. So I wanted to just go over that. Obviously, we know that this is affecting all weddings right now, and there is a whole slew of restrictions currently that can be amended at any time. So that is just something you would need to ask your consultant about when you first talk to Disney in terms of what are the restrictions, because I couldn't even tell you the restrictions. We just have a little bit of a half page of paper really that tells us exactly what we can and can't do currently, but that's constantly changing. Another thing I wanted to show you on the Q&A is, so when can I get married? Really any time of the year. When can I book my event? So this is going to be that information. So you can start working with your Disney consultant, like I said, 16 months prior to your wedding to determine the best date and time for your location. So you have that 16-month mark, they'll start reaching out to you. A person who is a sales consultant will reach out to you. Your wedding planner, you do not get in contact with until much later. The wedding consultant is going to be the person who you are first in touch with, and she's the one who basically will set up the venue, the time, and the reception that you want. So you're going to be talking to her about those 3 things basically. And then at the 1-year mark, you will get an email saying you got this location at this time, and this is your reception at this time. And from there, you will sign what is called a letter of agreement. That letter of agreement is a DocuSign basically saying that this is what you're going to be doing for your wedding, this is how much it's going to cost for the ceremony, as well as any kind of fees for the ceremony, as well as your food and drink, and that is determined based off of the time of day. And so you'll get that letter of agreement, and once you get that letter of agreement, you put your deposit down. The deposit can range anywhere from $4,000 to $25,000 depending on where you're getting married. And that deposit will be held for until you get married. So don't think you're getting that money back. That is going towards your wedding. And that deposit will be used to apply towards your total overall cost. After you put your deposit in, that is when you will get assigned a wedding team. You will have a wedding planner. You will have an assistant for the wedding planner. That is your main point of contact, really, because the wedding planner is planning a lot of weddings at once and is semi-busy. So the assistant will be your main point of contact. And you will also have a room block coordinator. That is a very important topic because you will have to make a room block. Now you get to choose different hotels within the Disney theme park. They will give you a discounted rate for your all of your guests. So the room block is very important. Your room block coordinator will be your best friend because you have to decide kind of very early on in the process at your 1-year mark away from your wedding, how many rooms you want to block off and what resorts you want to block off. Now, the best thing to do for a room block is to block off a value, a moderate, and a deluxe, in my opinion, because then you can let your guests decide where they want to stay. Another thing about that, though, is you need to provide transportation for your guests if you are having an in-park wedding, which we are. So you have to think about all of this stuff very far in advance in order to kind of start thinking about your budget, because all of that costs money. So again, that's kind of the time frame with Disney. You don't start anything really until the 16-month mark, and you don't really finalize until the 1-year mark. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about in the Q&A is what Disney doesn't provide. So Disney does not provide your wedding officiant, your hair and makeup, your wedding attire, obviously. They do not provide your marriage license or wedding insurance, as well as invitations, save the dates, and your wedding website. So they do not provide any of that. So that's stuff you have to find on your own. So again, that's why I utilize the Knot a lot for our wedding planning. We have a website on the Knot, which I'll show you in just a second. We did our save the dates with a person I found on Etsy. So this was our save the date for our May wedding. Obviously that didn't happen. But you can see our theme is a Cinderella wedding ceremony, but then we are having a reception at Storybook Circus. Our favorite movie is The Greatest Showman, so we wanted to do a Greatest Showman themed wedding, and we wanted to incorporate that in our reception. So that is why it kind of looks like a ticket for our save the date. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be like in a show, like an experience. So we have our custom logo that the person who made our invitations designed for us, and that was on a lot of our stationery, as well as we have it we have the date, the time of the reception, and our wedding website. They can take a look at the wedding website as soon as they get the save the date. Like I said, you need to be really on top of your game when you're planning a Disney wedding, because at the 1 year mark you are planning rooms for them and they need to book these rooms before they sell out. So that was our save the date. And then this was our invitation. So again, we have that custom made design. And then on the inside, it's like a trifle. So let's see that this way. So we have our information basically just saying that you're invited to our wedding, where it is. And then we have our RSVP for them to return to. We basically wanted information about a month before the wedding happened. The most important part, though, is this card right here. Here is probably the most important card in our wedding invitation packet. I wanted to make sure that guests knew exactly what was going to happen in the park, so and throughout the weekend, because it was a multi-day event. So we had a welcome party planned, and like it says here, we were doing it the day before our wedding, and it was going to be at the France Pavilion, and it was going to be for a firework dessert party, and it was asked our guests to gather at the back of the park. There was no transportation provided, so they were just asked to kind of meet at the pavilion by a certain time. There is no ticket required for a welcome party. You are paying for your guests. You're paying per guest to come in, so they just need to let them know that they're part of your party and they can come on it. And then the most important part is the wedding transportation. So for our room block, we had rooms booked at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, as well as the Contemporary Resort, and as well as Pop Century. But since we are military, a lot of people were staying at Shades of Green. So there was 3 charter buses that we were renting out from Disney, and they were going to be at the Caribbean Beach, Shades of Green, and Disney's Contemporary. We did not have a lot of people at that time booked for Pop Century, just some of my friends from grad school. And so I just asked them if it would be all right if they could meet at one of the lobbies of the other resort to kind of help save some costs, so we didn't have to have a whole separate bus for them. So yeah, very important part of a Disney fairy tale wedding is making sure your guests know the details. Okay, so let me show you our wedding. So let's go to... So like I said, we made a website on the Knot. And so here you can see kind of the information we provided. So this was actually our backup date, September 6, 2020. Obviously that did not happen either. And so the wedding, we just put the time that everybody needed to be there by, as well as that the attire was formal, where the location was. But because we were getting married at Magic Kingdom, everybody has to take transport that we provided. They will not let anybody walk to the park. they're not going to let you because you're going backstage basically. So it has to be provided, all transportation, and your guests have to be on that bus or else they are not getting into the wedding. So the reception was also going to be at Magic Kingdom, and I just left a little information like the ceremony will begin at midnight and the reception will immediately follow at Storybook Circus. And then here I notated, please note that because park is closed during the ceremony and reception, you cannot take public transportation. You have to take the transportation provided. And then I just said what our attire we were hoping people to wear was. Obviously, please avoid wearing the color white. I've seen white at weddings, and obviously we wanted to avoid that. And then this was just some information about our welcome party at Epcot that we were still going to have the day before our backup date wedding. Again, it was going to be at the France Pavilion, and then appetizers and cocktails were provided. Park admission, again, is not required for any of these events. You do not need a park admission to go to any of the wedding events. You're basically paying for that as the bride and groom, or whoever's helping you pay for the wedding is paying for that. Okay, so that was our wedding, kind of initial wedding page. And then this is for guest accommodations. So like I said, you will have a room block. So we chose the Pop Century Resort, the Caribbean Beach Resort, and the Grand Floridian. So I let them know what the amount it was per night and hotel booking. So you get a customized link once you set up your room block that your guests can book through on the website, or they can call the number here and ask for your wedding party with this code. So you have a code that always seems to be on it. It's on our BEO, which is your banquet event order. And your banquet event order is basically your Bible for your wedding. If it's not on your BEO, it's not happening. But that's how they keep track of everything. And like I said, here's travel and transportation. We're probably going to have to change this because, as everyone knows, Disney's Magical Express will be no longer in 2022. And so that will be a different kind of thing we'll have to change. And then we left some things to do, like how to get park tickets, My Disney Experience, FastPass Plus, which again might need to change, Disney Dining, how they can go about making reservations for their dining, as well as numbers to call. We have some photos, so we just have our engagement photos that we took with our photographer. And then these engagement photos were the event we actually got to go to Disney. This is a really cool photo. This is Peter Pan, obviously. We were just taking photos at Cinderella's castle in the wishing well, and my mom was taking photos of us, and he was going back to take a break. And he stopped and started asking us what was going on, and he was saying, ew, you grew up, and that's kind of what his face was doing, and it was really funny. He was awesome. I really liked that character interaction. As well as our registry. So that's the other things that are on here. So that was our wedding website. So saying earlier, there is a guide that can help you through this whole planning process because it gets confusing. You will get lost in numbers. You will get lost in how they calculate everything. It will happen. And you will get so overwhelmed and frustrated. And very much like, what do I do? So this is the guide. It's called Fairytale Wedding Guide. And it tells you literally everything. And it's constantly updated based off of new prices, as well as what they add, and as well as the pandemic situation. They have different guidelines now, and they're all in this book. So it will tell you the basic pricing, your event minimum expenditure, which I can talk about as well. But there's a lot that goes into the actual pricing of a Disney wedding. There's three actually main things. There is your ceremony location, the fee for that, your event minimum. That is calculated based off of what time of day you're getting married, what day of the week you're getting married, and where you're getting married, how much you have to spend towards that towards that venue. And that includes all of your decor, that includes all of your any extras you want to have, characters, if you want to have the carriage, anything like that. That is included in your event minimum expenditure. Here you will see what the event minimum expenditures are for things like Luau Point, as well as things like Oak Manor Lawn, your Epcot countries, your Animal Kingdom sites. So they'll tell you, obviously, if you get married on a Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be a lot higher. There's for the wedding pavilion. That's probably one of the most popular places to get married. Also, I should mention that if you and another bride want the same date, same location, same time, you get put into a lottery system, and they will randomly pick who will get to be at that time and that location, and they'll give the other person who doesn't get that their backup. So it might be a different time, it might be a different day. It kind of just depends on what you want to do. This is for the after hours event at Animal Kingdom as well as Hollywood Studios, and you can see the Magic Kingdom fees. So obviously there's no secret about how much a wedding costs at Disney. And then you have your reception, your food and beverage minimums. So you have brunch, and the times of ceremonies that can consider brunch, you're paying $140 for guests ages 21 and up. And then these for kids. Lunch is the 12 p.m. ceremonies. Those are going to be $165 for 21 and up, and then those for kids. And you have your dinner with your 2:30, your 5, and your 7:30, and that's going to be $190. So that is just some information. And again, it tells you all about the room blocks. I would highly recommend reading this because it can be very hard, because when you do a room block, you need to meet your room block expectations. So if Uncle Joe says he's going to stay and get 5 rooms and then decides, oh, I'm going to get an Airbnb, it's going to mess up your room block, because you have to keep a certain number that you agreed upon. So that's very important to make sure you can, whatever you tell Disney, underestimate. Underestimate. I cannot tell you enough. Underestimate how many numbers of rooms you need, because you can always add more rooms on the back end. Underestimate. And then it just tells you about your letter of agreement. So that's kind of it for kind of how to get started and kind of some of the basic knowledge of Disney. I know it was kind of a little all over the place, but there's a lot that goes into planning a wedding at Disney, and just you need to kind of be very prepared to make a lot of decisions up front and be prepared with that. One of the other things about the Disney wedding, the person who makes the guide, Carrie Hayward, she's great. She also has a podcast. And so if you're interested in learning about the different events, as well as kind of learning about where people get married. So this person had an after hours wedding like we're doing, and kind of hear her story, as well as you can hear somebody who got married at Epcot, as well as on the cruise ships, and kind of the different things with that. Let's see. American Rotunda is also a very popular place in Epcot for people to get married. Yacht Club. So just the different weddings that have happened at Disney. These are real brides. They are not sponsored by Disney, so they're going to tell you the honest truth of the good, the bad, the ugly of working with Disney. And yeah, you can tell there's 50 pages, so there are a lot of weddings here. And so you can always do the categories of the different podcasts too, if you want to focus on the cruise collection, or, you know, if you're flying in from the UK, what you want to do, you can also do that as well. But yeah, so that's kind of all the information I have for you today about how to kind of get started with Disney, as well as just some of the little tips and tricks I've learned along the way. Yeah, so if you have any more questions for me, just let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.